If you've ever had one of those weeks where you've done all the things as a business owner, and I know I've had hundreds of these, you've replied to all the emails, you've solved the problems, you've answered all the team queries, you've reacted to the latest client crisis, like you are busy and you end the day or the week. And although you're so busy and it's really unfair because you're doing loads of things, you know that actually you feel like you're standing still, like you're not meaningfully moving forwards. You haven't done anything that actually moves the business forward. You're just doing the work. Well, this episode is about, one, to tell you you're not behind, you're doing the stuff needs to happen. There's a better way for it, but you're doing the stuff. And two, like one of the biggest problems facing business owners is that there are so many half-closed loops that weigh us down and make us feel like we're not making progress. And rather than just being solely focused on the 20% of things that make the 80% of things happen, we're not. We end up being focused on all of the things that aren't quite finished, need our attention, all the little bits that we've tried to delegate, hanging around in our heads as open loops, open tabs. Well, I've experienced it loads. And back in 2019, I created my framework, my solution, my 5 steps that when I get to a Thursday or a Friday night and I'm like, wow, this week is a lot, but actually what have I done that's meaningful? In this episode, I'm going to talk through the 6 steps that I use to get myself back out of this funk and back into forward momentum. So if everything is feeling just a little bit heavy and tonight all you're thinking about doing is getting the Domino's, getting the pizza, getting the glass of wine, then good, go do it, get it out your system. This episode is going to give you the steps so you don't feel quite as heavy, you don't feel like everything's behind, and you're going to get back in control. So before I dive into my 6, and I will say they're tactical steps, this is not soft motivation, I'm not going to tell you to journal on it or light a candle or think about all of your biggest things that you would like to manifest. This is not this kind of episode. It's very tactical. There are 6 steps that I use every single time, just when I'm about to fall off a cliff with motivation, like, Emma, just do these things and you get back to it. So just before I dive into my 6-step plan, there is a reason why I created it, and it dates all the way back to 2019. And just a very short Emma story that I hope just puts into perspective why and how we can all feel like this. So between 2015 to 2019, my PA's revenue barely moved. I've had my business since 2008, and at the 2015 to 2019 mark, we headed into the 250k revenue mark. There was like 5 to 7 to 10 of us over the next few years, and those years were very busy. So this is 2015 to 2019, and we went from 263k in 2015 to, I think we got to like 279k at the end of 2018. So obviously this isn't growth of any description, but what I was very aware of was that I was very busy. I was doing a lot. It's not like, we were doing 280k and everyone was having just a really great time. I was swanning around doing things. I was fully in switched on mode. And when I look back through my calendar in those years, there was a lot going on, and I had leveraged and delegated almost nothing, pretty much. Like when I look at my calendars, I was in my inbox constantly. I was the only person in my inbox. There was nobody else helping me, which is really ironic. I know that I have a business that helps other people to leverage their time, but back then, hadn't quite figured out I needed to do it myself. I was replying to clients myself. I was still serving clients. I still had my own clients that I supported and helped, which, when you're at that stage and you're trying to do everything, that it really is hard. I was going to every networking event. I was jumping on calls I didn't need to be on. I was saying yes to pretty much everything. And there's an element of that where it serves you because you just never know. Like, you'll say yes to 100 things and one of them's the amazing thing. So there's always that element when you're in that phase of business that you do say yes. But there was literally not a part of the business that I wasn't in. From the outside, I know that it looked like we're doing great things, and we were, and we were doing great things because I was in the journey. I was making progress bit by bit, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But also I was for sure very exhausted. It's very palatable at the very beginning when you start it. Then 2015, 2016, okay, feels a bit challenging, not really getting a lot of growth. How do we break through? When you get to 2018, 2019, like 3-4 years later, it starts to become very hard to do consistently. Nigel Bottrell, I know I mention him in most episodes. He has a saying that really sums it up for me. And it's like, it's easy to tolerate shit when there are other upsides to it. So maybe you've got loads of time freedom, maybe you've got loads of profit coming in. But when you're tolerating shit, so to speak, in your business, and you don't have any other upside, you're just trying to move forwards, there's only so long you can tolerate that for without it becoming very heavy, very tiring, very feeling like, what the heck am I doing? So I would often think, what the heck am I doing between 2018 and 2019? Because ultimately I was thinking to myself, like every Friday I'd think, how am I this busy and nothing is really changing? And that's like quite, if you only hang on to that question itself, it can be quite self-defeating. But if you actually think about that question and think, why am I so busy and nothing's changing, then that becomes gold. But I was very aware that I wasn't lazy, doing loads of stuff. I wasn't incapable, but I was very much living in lots of half-eaten tasks, lots of open loops, all the things circled back to Emma. I was the mum of the business. I'm sure everybody's been there when you're like the dad, the mum, and you've got team members, but everybody is just spiraling off you. There is nobody that's kind of picking up the stuff directly themselves. And so there was always, an email to reply to, an invoice to chase, a client complaint to close down, a new inquiry to follow up with, a decision I hadn't quite made. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I for sure mistook activity for momentum. And so towards the end of 2017, I got an EA in my business. I started to make a lot of changes that freed me up. But I was also aware that the mindset of thinking, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm not going any further, why am I so busy but not moving forward, was also not helpful for me. It wasn't helpful for me, it wasn't helpful for my team, how I led the business. So I put this 6-step plan together, and I realized there were certain things that would immediately shift my mind, my framework, my mindset. It would shift how I felt about where I was going in the business. So I was like, do you know what? And it was kind of, as good things do, it happens by chance, bit by bit. The first time that I fell on a Friday, like that was a lot that week, but I'm not entirely sure what progress we've made. I would notice that things I would start to do that would make the difference and change the difference. So it eventually came together into these six things that I do every time. So the shift in my business, because from 2019 onwards, we started to grow quite quickly. We've done like 500% growth since then to now. And so the shift didn't come about from me working even harder. It came about from resetting quickly when I had those moments of, where is this going? What's happening? Like being able to get back on the bus quickly and make better decisions. And it came from leveraging and delegating more massively. However, this episode is solely about my 6-step plan that I would use every time to go from sad, tired Emma who's thinking, why did I start this and where am I going, to, no, 24 hours has passed, back on it, and I'm making the right decisions. So let's delve in. Okay, number one, we're going to talk about the reason why everybody's brain, and particularly business owners' brains, feel so heavy a lot of the time and feel so cluttered with so much stuff. And there's actually a scientific reason for it, which I know makes me feel a lot better. It's because our brains cognitively are addicted to hanging on to half-finished things. So it's much easier for our brain to loop onto those. And back in, I think it was 1927, there's actually a scientist called Bloomer Zygarnik, and he coined the Zygarnik Effect. And it is literally that. He realized that brains very quickly get rid of things that have happened, that have been achieved, the wins, the stuff that's closed down, the stuff that's completed, the win that you've made, the sale, the biggest sale that you've made, the good feedback that you had. The brain very, very quickly processes it and gets rid of it because it's closed down, it's shut, it's finished, which isn't helpful for us as business owners, because all the good stuff that's why we move on so quickly. All the good stuff that's coming across our desk, we know about, that we hear, our brain just gets rid of it because it's considered done and closed. But cognitively, it hangs on to the things that it knows are not closed. So the Zygarnik Effect, you'll be glad to know this is why your brain feels like it does. And so anything that you've delegated, leveraged, passed to somebody else, not finished yourself, that's the worst. Like, you end up with double tasks open in your brain. All the decision that you haven't made yet, the half-written proposal, I'll reply later, the WhatsApp message that you've had that you've not replied to, every awkward conversation you don't want to have, or your brain's doing a really good job of hanging on to that stuff. So in your brain, there is basically, like, when you open your laptop and Chrome opens and there's 100 tabs all across the top, it is exactly the same with your brain. And it's the reason why things feel so heavy constantly, because all of this stuff is constantly running in the background. And until you identify that, it never stops. And so that was definitely, it was like one of the key reasons I realized I would get home every night and everything felt so heavy. So step one, and this has got science behind it, if you are feeling like there is just so much, I am just overwhelmed, the simplest thing that you can do is grab a pen and a paper tonight, just before you're ordering the Domino's, because you're going to get it out of your system. You grab a pen and a paper, you set a timer for 10 minutes, and you are just going to write down, and I'm not talking about going into Asana or ClickUp or finding the project the project software. Like, we're not making this complicated. Just get a piece of paper and a pen and write down every single thing that is floating around in your mind somewhere. It might not even be like the most pressing thing. I'm not just talking about urgent stuff. It might also just be like life stuff. It might be that there's no food in the house and you need to do that grocery shop on top of everything else. It might be that you just haven't still arranged anything for Mother's Day and it's coming up on a Sunday, and like, these things might not feel mega urgent, but believe me, they are all completely cluttering your mind. So 10-minute timer, write every single thing down that is either half done, floating around, you passed to somebody else and haven't had an update on. That is one of the worst. I say to my team all the time, when a client's having to ask where something's up to, we've already failed. Like, you need that person to be updating you, but that's another podcast episode. Every single thing that you've ever passed over, you've not only got your own stuff now, you've got the other stuff too. So even if it's things that you've passed to your team, responses that you're waiting on, just get it all down on paper. And cognitively, when your brain sees all of that in the one place, it kind of does a mini sigh of relief, because it sees it all in one place and it's like, oh, I don't need to keep all of this front of mind all of the time, because it's there and it's logged. And I can now see that it's kind of a bit of a satisfaction piece for the brain. So honestly, it's every single time I get home thinking, what is going on? I'm overwhelmed. I don't then open my laptop, open Asana and start creating tasks. Just get it all down on one piece of paper. Your brain will thank you for it. And definitely, like, no organizing, no color code. Clarity creates calm, and honestly, your brain absolutely loves it. So just get this list down. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to choose one thing from that list, because this is how you start to train your brain to know that you're in control of everything, that you're making things happen. And often when say on a Thursday night, I'm making this list, I might just choose one thing that feels easy to complete and it's helpful, it's useful. So again, like, it might be that I need to get the Sainsbury's shop plan to come on Saturday morning. Like, out of the list of 50, 60 things that I might have written down, that's a mixture of business and home, I might just go, do you know what? We need food in, I need to eat. I'm just going to get this one thing done, boxed off and out of the way. And your brain loves that. Like, we need to train our brains all the time. RAS, our reticular activating system, kind of focuses on the energy and the thoughts that we're giving it. So if you think more about all the things you haven't done, your brain just constantly looks for all the things you haven't done. If we start to train our brain to look at, well, I've got this list of 60 and I've just ticked one thing off and that's going to make the weekend better. Your brain, it's again, science. You didn't know this podcast was going to be so scientific, did you? Like it actually starts to train your brain to go, oh, well, I know there's a list of 60 things there. Just ticks off one pretty meaningful one. That means we're going to eat this weekend. Emma's back on track. So just this, it might feel and sound simple, but there is real science behind how it helps. Get the list written down and just one thing. And I know that there is a lot of talk and reasons why we, eating that frog, doing the hardest thing. But at this point, when you're feeling overwhelmed, I don't suggest doing the very hardest thing first. Picking the one thing that you can complete, get done, removes a tiny bit of mental clutter. And it honestly just gives your brain that kind of little dopamine hit and that focus back on, Emma's in control. So every single time I'm feeling overwhelmed, this is what I do. Okay, step number 2 of the plan, and this is the one I always enjoy the most because it's going to give me back some free time, and I perform open heart surgery on my diary. So I'm going to open my diary for next week. This is really simple and quick one. I'm going to open my diary for like the next week, the next 2 weeks. I'm going to look at it and I'm go, what is at least one thing I do not need to do anymore that's in there? You might have arranged meetings from 2 weeks or 6 weeks ago. You might be part of some internal meeting because people just prefer it that you're in the room. You might just be having an exploratory conversation with somebody you've met on LinkedIn. Is it urgent for the next 2 weeks? Probably not. You'll know better than I, but I take my calendar, I look at the next week ahead and I go, what is one thing from here I can uncommit from, I can delete out of my diary? Is it moving me forwards? Is it really crucial? If it didn't happen, would something terrible happen in my business? Like, is it urgent? Because if it's not, I'm removing at least one thing. And then using whatever time slot I remove myself from. And by the way, I'm doing this with politeness, with grace. I'm not just going, sorry, I ain't in that anymore. I'm saying, actually, I need to reschedule that. My EA is going to reschedule it. I'm doing it nicely. I'm not just kind of declining invites. But I'm going to take myself out of something that I've been booked into that I don't really need to do. And you'll know at the bottom of your heart whether you really need to do it. Is it crucial that you're in that team meeting? Is it crucial that you are speaking to a client even? Is it crucial that you're the person doing it? You'll know your diary better than me. So I remove myself from at least one thing. Like I force myself to be pretty ruthless with it. Like I have to find something that I'm now not doing that I was meant to be doing. And in that time slot, I then use it to give myself 60 minutes, 90 minutes of sole focus on the things that need to happen in your business, whether it's marketing, clients, implementing a project you've talked about, moving something forwards on a course that you've been in but never actually implemented. You'll know. But I then take that time, block it out so that I can do something with it that's actually meaningful. And the third part to this, which I think you're going to love, is I look at the stuff in my diary and I go, okay, so I remove myself from one thing. I'm going to look for a second thing that's in there and go, what is a second thing in my diary that I could actually delegate to someone? Like I'm doing it because it probably feels better for my team that I'm doing it. I think I could do it quicker than anyone else. I think I'll do it better than anyone else. Sometimes you have to be happy with 80% and you not doing it rather than 100% and you doing it yourself. So I look at my diary and I think, what is one thing in here that's happening that actually, do you know what? I don't really need to do that. Somebody else could do it. And if you don't have anyone to delegate anything to, great conversation and list to start making for yourself that actually somebody could meet with this prospective client, or somebody could onboard this client, or somebody could take that 60 minutes I've blocked out to get my inbox back down to 0, that somebody could do these things. But what I'm looking to achieve here with step 2 is that I have pulled back 60 minutes in my week from something I didn't need to be in, and I am committing it to the things that need to happen, because I've said it time and time again. If I looked at a client's diary, anyone can see 1 month, 2 months, 3 months out what's priority in the business. Like if it's not scheduled in, it's not happening. And most often, from complete experience of looking at clients' calendars, they are just a collection of things that other team members, clients, other stakeholders have asked you to do. It's not time carved out and dedicated to you. So we're going to remove ourselves from one thing. We're going to put that time in to make something meaningful happen, because if it's not getting scheduled, it's not getting done. Those are the facts. And number 3, I'm looking at one thing that's in my calendar that actually, do you know what? I don't need to do that. I'm going to give it to X or Y or Z in my team, or I'm going to add it to a list and think, who can I find to help me with that thing if you don't have a team? So really easy one. Stop pretending things will magically happen. If it's not in your calendar, it's not getting done. Okay, step 3 in my plan, and now we're getting to the big money moves, because I call this the £1,000 per hour move. It sounds sexy, I know, but it is sexy. And that's because most of us feel heavy and overwhelmed and like we're not getting anywhere, because we deep down inside, we know that the work we are doing is not £1,000 per hour work. We know that it's £20, £25 an hour work. And when we're doing that consistently, day in, day out, for me, that's when business owners' energy completely starts to go down the drain and moves you towards that, I just want to sit down and order the pizza evening, because it just feels so like, why did I start this business in the first place? Why did I create this beast that gives me less money, gives me less time? I'm not doing the things I love. And it's predominantly, in my experience, when we are spending all day on the £25 an hour work. And without getting into too much detail, that's not for this episode, the £25 an hour, it could be £10 an hour work, £25, £50 an hour work. It's ultimately not the things you should be doing. So I like to get really strategic and go, right, step number 3. So I've got my list, I've got my diary, open heart surgery that I did. And number 3, I'm going to look at what is £1,000 an hour work that I can do this week. Could it be that I am opening LinkedIn, dusting the cobwebs off it, and starting to message some dream founders that I want to work with in niches or businesses that I know I can help. And I'm just sending really personalized, not AI, not bot. I'm just sending some really personalized messages saying, hey, we've helped this kind of person, would love to connect, fancy a coffee. Like maybe you're just starting that. Maybe you are actually just going, I'm going to spend 50 minutes and each day this week show up on the platform where I know my clients hang out and just talk and add value. Maybe you're going to re-engage some prospects and send out an email, seeing if they're still interested. Like actual £1,000 an hour work. It feels, when you've not been doing it consistently for a long time, it feels a bit scary to commit to going, this next hour I need to do the most meaningful stuff. But when you've spent an hour on it, it is the best feeling, because you're like, oh, right, I've just spent an hour on LinkedIn messaging my dream clients, my prospects. Yeah, they might not reply, but you know that 60 minutes has been spent well. You've been, like your name is at least starting to show up in somebody's inbox. You've started the process. You've started the right things to do. It doesn't mean it's going to immediately yield results or immediately yield £1,000, but you're starting to do the things that matter. And for me, that is the biggest way to dig yourself out of, I'm not enjoying my business. Like, is to start ticking off 60-minute slots of, do you know what? I'm starting to work on the things that really matter in my business. And I know that sooner or later, whether it's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, this is going to start to compound and this is just going to start to pay off. It's just like when I started my TV, my old video series, or when I started the podcast, episode 1, in both, episode 2, it starts to feel slow and clunky and you don't know what you're doing. And then by episode 50, you're like, oh, I can see why I've started this. Like I'm getting referrals from it, clients. Only the other day, this is a true story. I think we're on episode 57 or something like that of the podcast. I got a message on LinkedIn to say they'd listened to an episode of a friend of theirs that had been on my podcast. I actually don't know who that was, but they listened to my podcast because their friend was on it. They then realized what we did. They're like, I need that. booked a discovery call, and now we're talking to them. And so that kind of stuff, it's when you record episode 1 of a podcast, it doesn't feel like I've immediately made a win for my business, I've immediately got some new prospects. It feels like you're in the messy middle and you're starting and you're in this journey, and is it going to even matter or make a difference? But then 50, 60 episodes in, you're starting to make progress, and it's that ticking off the hour, the 60 minutes of work, of the £1,000 per hour work that really, really makes the difference to your own confidence and to getting out of those funks of flipping heck, I've just been absolutely in the weeds all day. So step 3, make the £1,000 per hour move. Number 4, it's a quickie and it involves getting your duster out. And there may be some controversies to whether this is important or not. For me, it works, but I like to reset my environment. And most often, I daren't turn the camera slightly behind me because my desk currently is a mound of props for podcasts and content and all sorts of things on there. But when I am in the mode of what's happening, am I moving forwards, why am I stuck in the weeds, the thing I do, which immediately makes me feel better on step 4, is resetting my environment. Literally, I will look around, and if where I am working, if my desk is chaos, if my laptop is chaos and there are tabs everywhere, if my inbox is not good to look at, which doesn't happen anymore, but back in the day, your brain, your nervous system, like your just general being goes, well, there is too much going on. So I like to just go, okay, nothing's going to be urgent or crucial in the next half an hour. I'm just going to reset my environment. So that might be closing Chrome and Safari down with the 100 tabs that you've got and just going, there's no way I can possibly use all those 100 tabs. So I'm just going to close everything down, start afresh, just have one tab open with the thing I'm working on. I might just take my inbox. If there's too many unread emails in there, just highlight everything, move it into one folder, start afresh from today. And with my desk, if it is starting to look like a student's desk, then I will just give it a complete overhaul. I will just give it the tidy up it needs. And honestly, your environment dictates your performance, not only with the people you hang around with, but where you are. And so I will make sure that I do a quick environment reset to go, let's just get back to zero. Let's just get clear, get calm, get in a really good state of mind, because that is where the £1,000 per hour work comes from. So number 4, reset your environment. Okay, number 5, we're going to talk about winning tomorrow before you finish today. And again, like, these are simple things and you will have heard of all of them at some point, but just putting them together in a little 6-point list really helps me. So 20 minutes before I finished, and I know it's another reason why you have so many open tabs. 20 minutes before I am going to finish, going to leave the office, going to shut down my laptop at home, I just spend 20 minutes to look at what are the things I haven't finished off this week, I didn't do today that I said I was going to do. And I look at what I need to move forwards so that it's still there, it's in my diary and I know there's time planned for it. And what half-eaten things I just need to write down back in my to-do list. And also tomorrow I will just look at what I'm doing and what can I just quickly prep now. So whether it's as simple as getting your gym kit out because tomorrow you were going to go and you don't want to cancel it again. So just get the gym kit out. So it's so easy in the morning to pick up my bag. Whether it's tomorrow you're going to block the session, block the 60 minutes to get the proposal written or to contact that new client. I will just see what I can do to make tomorrow as good and in advance as possible, because it's another reason why we feel heavy. You kind of finish in the day, stuff still not finished, bowling into tomorrow, like it's a never-ending cycle. So tomorrow, we want you to wake up with clarity, not confusion. So if you just take 20 minutes tonight to make the plan, what did I not close off? What do I need to move forward? And how can I make tomorrow better? What can I plan or prep now? Honestly, your momentum will love you for it tomorrow. And number 6, this is a really, really good one. And honestly, you should do this on its own if you don't do the other 5 things. Claim the win. I told you at the beginning of the episode that our brain will just easily get rid of everything that's happened and completed because it knows it's like a little conveyor belt. It can drop it off the end because it's already got all of these half open and half finished things in the middle. So it becomes very hard for us to think about what was the win, like what was the good stuff that happened, but there will be loads of it. And I think as business owners, we can be very hard on ourselves. I know I certainly can keep looking forwards to, but what next? Yeah, okay, well, I've done that now, but what next? What's happening? There's always an element of more. What can I stack on? What can I achieve next? And sometimes a win can be that you went to the gym today and you said you were going to. A win can be that you spent that 60 minutes on LinkedIn, and even though nobody replied, or you got some replies that were like, bugger off, or whatever it was, you did the 60 minutes and you know that 60 minutes is getting you closer to your next client. It can be really easy to answer the email, solve the problem, show up through the day, go home, start tomorrow, answer the problem, solve the emails, solve the problem, show up through the day, and you become on a conveyor belt. And what, as Tony Robbins talks about, humans love and crave and want is a sense of progress. But we can do that to ourselves every single night. So I know, as much as you are doing loads in your business. But your brain will not give you any of the credit that you are unless you train it to see it, to spot it, to log it, to write it down. And it's not about being nice to yourself. As I mentioned at the beginning, your RAS system in the brain, you need to train it you need to actively train it every day to see and spot the good stuff. Otherwise, it will just focus on the things that aren't finished, aren't good, need your attention. So when you find something that went well, we want your brain to log it as proof. And for me, that helps by writing it down. Do you know what I also think is a really good idea now, which I've started to do? I start to log at the end of the day what went well into just a little open chat in ChatGPT. And it's really good at giving you, at the end of the week, a summary at the end of the month. And obviously, the longer you use it, you start to get this really amazing log of all the things that went really well. But, it can be like, did you eat a healthy lunch today? Yeah, okay, good job. Like you said you were going to do it. It's those marginal everyday 1% changes that make the difference. And yet they don't feel like they are marginal 1% changes when you're doing them. But did you eat a healthy lunch? Yes. Did you do the 12,000 steps? And you know that you feel better and you said you were going to do them and you did them. Like, amazing. Like, that's a win for the day. Did you go to the gym when you didn't feel like it? Like, even if you did half an hour workout instead of 60 minutes, did you do that? Then amazing. That's a win. You're still stacking it. Did you start something you've been avoiding? Like the other day, I had some things that I needed to get off my desk, like information I needed to pull together to our new CFO. Now, I hate the financial side of the business from a kind of work task perspective. I don't enjoy it. It's not my bag, but I needed to do it. And so that day when I finally got around to getting it done, and when I was starting it, you really don't want to do something. But when I'd finished it, like, I felt amazing. I was like, that is something I didn't want to do. And I did it. So well done. And wins also are not just finished projects. They might be small steps to something else. But I think at the end of the day, even if it's that you are driving home in the car or on the train and you just spend a couple of minutes to go, what was the win today? And it's normal to have to think hard about it. A lot of us will think, well, there was no big firework moment. There was no big client win that came in. There was, no big opportunity that slid into my DMs in LinkedIn. But the wins are there, whether it's for yourself and health and fitness, whether it's something you didn't want to do, whether it's 60 minutes you spent on something well-intended for the business, whether it's actually that you were just in a really positive, abundant mood the whole day and was like, yeah, I'm enjoying enjoying the days is the biggest win ever because they don't come back. So I just think that when you can consciously claim the wins and really put some effort into what was good today, your brain starts looking for more of them tomorrow, and it's going to make it easier for you, and your brain is immediately going to start to head towards a more abundant place. And that is how, it's part of building sustainable momentum. Nobody builds sustainable momentum, easy for me to say. Nobody builds that with a mindset that is tired and can't see as far as replying to the next email. So it's not about pressuring yourself. It's about just recognition of all of these small steps that you are doing every single day to move forward. And so those 6 steps, like, they help me to win the next 24 hours. And I think that's what's so important in running a business, the next 24 hours, the next week. I have a newsletter which I send out every Sunday night called Win the Week, because quite frankly, setting the big goals, setting the big financial goals, the fitness goals, the I'm going to go on these holidays, I'm going to buy that house, like, they're all sexy, amazing things. But it all comes from, have I won the week? Have I won the next 24 hours? Have I stacked the simple things that don't feel sexy in the moment that build to all the good stuff? So these 6 steps, like, they just really help. And none of them are complicated. None of them are asking you to do anything new. None of them are even completely groundbreaking. Like, we know all of these things. But for me, if I get home and I'm like, oh, today isn't working for me, these 6 things really, really help me to get back into the mindset of, no, Emma, it's all good, you're making progress. And that's all we want, is to know that we're making progress. So I hope today's episode has been so helpful for you. Like, you don't need another productivity app. You don't need the latest AI tool. You don't need to go and journal on it and find yourself, though you can. You just need 24 hours of intention, like a reset. And a reset that works once, because if you are constantly firefighting your week, it feels really heavy. So if you can just take those 6 steps, and even if you do half of them, that's a win in itself. But for now, if you just win the next 24 hours, do it again, and enjoy the process. That is how we move forwards, and that is what I want for you. I hope this episode was helpful, and I will see you next time.